mixed use is where it's happening. Traditionally, you've seen mixed use in kind of very dense urban places and cities, and we're seeing a lot of trends in suburbs and kind of inner rings of cities where people are moving back into the suburbs and want that sort of urban experience, but they might not want the commute into the city. I think most cities are getting very dense and urbanizing, and we're certainly seeing that in Atlanta, where I live, and in a number of markets where we're working. But I think developers are realizing there's a premium they can get with doing mixed-use development from a land cost basis. It sort of diversifies their investment a little bit, and it's what people want. People want to be in walkable, sort of authentic urban places, and you see people sort of creating that in the suburbs, where you still want that sort of place-making, places where people can sort of extend the active life of the development or the community. So that mix of uses really helps to do that, to sort of extend the active day and to bring more vitality to the project. Most projects that we're working on now have some sort of a public-private partnership, and that has various forms. One project that comes to mind is in Savannah. It's called Eastern Wharf. It's just on the edge of the historic district in Savannah, which is just a beautiful, very unique downtown. And the city was going to build a standalone parking deck, mainly for tourists and visitors, sort of across the street from where our project site is. And in negotiating, working with the city, it made a lot more sense, sort of a win-win for both the city and the development, that they could build a public parking structure as part of the project. So the city came to the table, built the parking structure. They agreed to sort of their baseline street infrastructure, what they would build on a typical city street. And the developer came in and said, well, we want to elevate the design, so we'll put in, Y more dollars than the baseline to get a better sort of elevated design that's specific to that project. And there's also public spaces. There's a 1-acre park, and then about an 80-foot wide linear park along the Savannah River that the developer is building, but then deeding back to the city as public park space. So I think that's a really good example where all the non-residential uses that are envisioned and under construction now for the phase 1 and 2 of that project will park in the city deck. So the developer is not having to build extra parking structures to make the development work. So it works for both the city and the developer. That's one good example. Another project called Capitol View in Nashville is about a 32-acre brownfield mixed-use project. At one point, before we got involved, it was going to be an IKEA. And the developer, Boyle Investment Company out of Memphis and Nashville, wanted to do a mixed-use project. Northwestern Mutual is their equity partner in the project. And so a lot of thought was given into the arrangements of the streets, the public spaces, how those could be activated. We extended a greenway. The greenways is their multi-use bike and jogging trail. So we extended that along the side of the project to connect two existing trails and really kind of help stitch that public infrastructure back. And then the developer is giving that land back to the city. And I think another trend we've seen a lot in both of those projects where the developer will put in extra money and deed property back to the city is that they'll also come up with a maintenance agreement where the developer will maintain the public right-of-way and the public parks because they have skin in the game to make sure that everything's clean and safe, and so it doesn't put as much of a burden on the municipality to maintain it in public works. So I think that's a good model that we've seen in a lot of cities.